Elon Musk's plan to colonize Mars is ambitious to say the least. To achieve their goals, SpaceX had to reimagine current technologies while at the same time invent new ones. This is where the Raptor engine comes in. This methane-powered powerhouses could single-handedly power Elon Musk's plan to reach Mars by 2024, not to be confused with the Merlin engines that SpaceX uses on the Falcon 9 reusable rockets for its current launches. The Raptor engines are being developed specifically for SpaceX's Starship and its booster stage Super Heavy. This is a sneak peek into the insane engineering behind SpaceX Raptor engines. The history of rockets can be traced back to the medieval ages, but we'll be focusing on rockets developed to take people and objects into space. Let us travel to 1898. A Russian schoolteacher, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, first proposes this insane idea of using liquid propellants in rockets to explore space. Tsiolkovsky was convinced that the speed and range of a rocket were limited only by the exhaust velocity of escaping gases. For his vision and in-depth research, Tsiolkovsky is known as the father of modern astronautics. He was the first one to dream of leaving Earth's gravity by strapping himself to a tube of burning gases. Fast-forwarding a few decades, and rockets were being developed all over the world, not to be used as space-bound vehicles but as weapons. American engineers like Robert H. Goddard and German engineers like Hermann Oberth would further lay down the fundamentals of developing rocket engines. After the Great Wars ended, rocket technology had started maturing into a separate field of study, and with the Cold War fueling the space race, a new era of technological development was upon the field of rocketry. These rockets were being designed to reach escape velocities and break free of the Earth's gravity, but traveling up Earth's gravity well was proving to be a difficult task. And then, on October 4, 1957, the Sputnik rocket broke from Earth's gravity to deliver the first ever artificial satellite called the Sputnik 1. Sputnik was a heavily modified version of the Soviet Union's R-7 Semyorka ICBM. Sputnik finally proved it was possible to travel up Earth's gravity well. The rest is history, as the USA followed suit with the development of its Saturn V rocket, which would take the first people to the moon. As time went on, other countries started, like China, the EU Space Agency, and India, joining in with other indigenous rocket designs, all specifically designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to break away from Earth's gravity. SpaceX has set its eyes on Mars, and to reach there, they are rethinking rockets from the ground up. Reaching Mars and coming back would require a new spacecraft, powered by a totally new rocket engine, unlike anything done before. SpaceX began the development of Starship, previously called the Big Falcon rocket, a stainless steel alloy-based spaceship supported by a booster stage called the Super Heavy. Now all they needed was an engine to power all these rockets. The first thing that SpaceX decided was to make the rocket reusable. Reusable rockets have always been SpaceX's thing. They saw the massive costs of one-time use rockets that NASA was using for its spacebound missions, and thought that they were just dumping millions of dollars of equipment into oceans when we can develop the technology to reuse it. It took SpaceX a few years and a lot of sweat and blood to make reusable rockets a feasible option. And now, Falcon 9s are the industry standard for reusable rockets. With the success of Falcon 9 and its Merlin engines, SpaceX decided to stick to a similar philosophy of reusing. When SpaceX said they would reimagine rocket engine technology, they really meant it. Raptor was developed on the full-flow staged combustion cycle. This unconventional gas cycle has only previously been used in experimental rocket technologies, and Raptor would be the first engine using this cycle to go to space. To put it into simpler terms, this cycle uses both oxidizer-rich and fuel-rich preburners. Usually it is one or the other. The cycle allows a full flow of both propellants through the turbines, hence the name. What this means is that the Raptor engine can be more efficient than other rocket engines because it has more control over the flow of the oxidizer and fuel. Other benefits of using a full-flow stage combustion cycle included turbines that run cooler and at lower pressure. This is due to the increased mass flow, leading to longer engine life and higher reliability. And this was exactly what SpaceX was aiming at for the engine to power Starship. An engine with longer life and higher reliability means it can be safely reused multiple times without servicing. This will significantly cut down costs and downtime between launches. Currently, the Raptor engine is rated for 25 flights. Just imagine if the Raptor were not made with reusability in mind. That would mean 25 different rockets would be used for the same flights and then discarded. Another engineering choice was to use cryogenic liquid methane to feed the Raptor engine. Again, this design choice is an unprecedented move for rocket engines. Rocket Propellant 1 or RP1 is usually the fuel of choice for most rocket engines. RP1 is just a more refined version of jet fuel. In fact, previous SpaceX engines like Falcon 9's Merlin engine and Kestrel engines both used RP1 as their fuel. So when SpaceX first announced that the Raptor will be using cryogenic liquid methane and liquid oxygen (LOX), it came as a shock to SpaceX fans. But SpaceX was committed to methane as its primary fuel for Raptor. One of the main reasons SpaceX went forward with this unorthodox design choice is related to the geological landscape and atmosphere of Mars. See, Raptor was designed specifically for Starship and the Mars mission. So, when NASA's rover missions to Mars showed that Mars's atmosphere had huge amounts of CO2 in the air and abundant amounts of frozen water in the ground, SpaceX realized that they could in theory synthesize methane on Mars. If we could make our own fuel on Mars, this meant that Starship does not have to haul fuel for the return journey. This is called In Situ Resource Utilization, ISRU, a way to exploit local resources to put in a sustainable infrastructure on an alien planet. This lines with SpaceX's aim to make Mars a sustainable colony that does not need support from Earth. In fact, the Sabatier process, the process used to make methane from carbon dioxide and water, also produces oxygen as a byproduct, which will be used by the colony. Astronauts already used this tried and tested process to produce oxygen from water and eliminate carbon dioxide at the International Space Station, ISS. Talking about water, some of you might be wondering why we cannot use water and use hydrogen to power the Raptor engines launching from Mars. To briefly put it, even though hydrogen is a more efficient fuel, it adds complexity to rocket engines and rocket design. Liquid hydrogen needs extreme temperature control, can leak easily, and is less dense, thus requires a bigger fuel tank. SpaceX wants its rocket to be simple, cheap, and reliable. According to Elon Musk, the best part is no part. The best process is no process. Therefore, SpaceX decided to opt for methane-powered instead of a hydrogen-powered engine. Methane burns with this bright blue flame and is a very different sight as compared to the yellow flame of RP1-powered engines. This gives the Raptor engine a unique signature look. SpaceX first tested its Raptor engine fitted on an SN5 Starship in August of last year at SpaceX Boca Chica facility. In the hop test, a single Raptor engine flew the SN5 500 feet in the air before coming back down safely. Following the successful test, SpaceX performed multiple more short hop tests throughout 2020. Then on December 9, 2020, everyone gathered around to witness the first high-altitude test for the Raptor engine mounted to Starship SN8. SN8 was armed with 3 Raptor engines as it took to the skies at Boca Chica, Texas. It successfully ascended to its target altitude of 10 kilometers, but on its way back to landing, one of the Raptor engines failed to reignite and SN9 toppled on landing, ending with very expensive fireworks. The Raptor engine would crash again subsequently in high-altitude tests, performed in February and March at Boca Chica. But if we know anything about SpaceX, we know they do not shy away from setbacks. On May 6th, SN15 made history by successfully landing after a high-altitude test. It was a historic landing for human-powered spaceflight, and we can expect more interesting news from SpaceX in the coming months as they perfect the Raptor engine to take us to Mars.